The Ministry of Water and Environment has launched a $9.5 million project in eastern Uganda intending to enhance community adaptation to climate change with a call to government to have a substantive management plan in protecting wetlands in addition to establishing a fund to implement the presidential directive to evict wetlands occupants so as to preserve the environment. John Musila, the chairman of Mpologoma Water Catchment Area, stressed that the 4.5-year project has come at a time when the country is grappling with disasters that, among others, include floods, landslides resulting from environmental degradation.
Degradation nationally is worst in Eastern. Honorable Minister, you are aware, and these are not new figures to you, that 46% Eastern alone, which major Eastern is the Far East, where we have Mpologoma catchment, 46% of our wetlands are degraded, and it is number one in Uganda, Mpologoma and the Eastern generally. Number one in degradation in Uganda, maybe followed by Kampala, Central and Western Uganda, and the list, of course, is Northern. Surprisingly, this is a dangerous situation, Honorable Minister, which we as stakeholders must handle for posterity. Towards the end of these remarks, indigenous knowledge becomes important. Engineer Nantongo spoke about this. Engineer Maximo equally. But we simply speak about it and leave it there. I, Governor Buda, Governor Nabisigwa, we come from that background. No landslide happens without warning. It will warn you. In Kumwarukani, in 2010, I think, or 12, we saw birds on the trees escaping. Even the rats in your houses will escape. You can't see this is cosmic knowledge. How do these animals know? And you can't go by them. These are natural early warning systems. Sure. The cosmic knowledge. In 2006, you saw in Indonesia, when we had the tsunami, tell me how many elephants, monkeys, and others died. How many? Not even one. They had escaped 1 month early. 2006. But those of us with these cyborgs, gadgets, whatnot, you have satellites, the international space stations, we failed and people died. And those you think are not intelligent were able to survive. It's not about only indigenous knowledge. Go deeper and study it deeper. Use some of us who are psychologists and traditional psychologists who will tell you. This. We got this from our grandparents. Rastas respect history, and history is our destiny. Rasta respect that.
The project's specific objectives, among others, include strengthening institutional capacity, implementation and monitoring of integrated floods early warning systems, as Engineer Annette Kezia Nantongo, the Senior Water Officer in the Ministry of Water and Environment, explains.
Kale tuli wano Mbale leero nga tuzze okutandika project empya efunye ssente okuva mu organization bagiyita adaptation fund, nga zino ssente zigenda kuyamba abantu b'Empologoma catchment okulaba nti amataba n'ettaka okulumbuka we bijja ebasanga nga bagumu, nga tegenda kubakosa wadde. Ne project eno egenda kulaba nti n'ebyobuwangwa ng'entobaze oba emigga, ebyobutonde ng'emigga oba entobaze n'ebibira, nti gano amazzi we gaba gazze amangi ennyo tegakosa wadde gasanga nga gakyali magumu. Eno projekiti etuwadde ssente miliyoni 9.5 eza ddoola nga tugenda projekiti kugikola mu myaka 4.5. Eno projekiti egenda coveringa districts 11 nga ziri mu area ziri mu Bugisu, mu Busoga ne mu Bukedi. Eno projekiti egenda kukola ebintu bingi nnyo. Tugenda kukwatagana n'abantu abali mu Mpologoma mwennyini bazimbe toyireti ezitajja kukosebwa gano amazzi amangi ge tutera okulaba oba gye tuyita climate change. Tugenda kuzimba tugenda kuwa abantu amazzi, tugenda kuzimba tanka zino ezisobola okufuna amazzi gano amangi mu kifo okukosa abantu tugafunemu ekyobugasa ekigenda okugasa abantu. Tugenda kugyamu abantu mu ntobaze tubayambe tubalage nti basobola okukola ebintu ebirala ebisobola okufunamu ssente nnyingi. Tugenda kutunuulira emigga gyaffe tugizzeewo nga bwe gyali. Abantu bagenze balima ku sayidi z'emigga gino naye tugenda kubalaga engeri gye basobola okukola bulungi n'emigga gino mu kifo ky'okugyonoona. Tugenda kuteekawo centers abantu basobola okugenda ne bayiga bye balina okukola oba oyogedde ku bintu by'amazzi n'obuwangwa n'obutonde. Then tugenda kuteekawo system gye tuyita flood early warning. Eno system abantu ejja kubeebabuulira nti tugambe mu weeks nga 3 wagenda kubeerawo amazzi mangi nnyo, esange ng'abantu bakimanyi era beetegese. Abalina okuvaawo bavuddewo, abalina byonna bye beetaaga babitegese. So eno project egenda kuyamba nnyo abantu b'Empologoma era twesunze nnyo okukwatagana n'abantu bonna ab'omu districts zino 11. Ffenna tukolagane wamu tukyuse obulamu bw'abantu ne climate change eno gye tuwulira bulijjo ereme kutukosa naye tugirabe nti naye tusobola okukola ki okugiwangula.
The project, according to Engineer Maximo Twinomuhangi, the Choga Water Management Zone team leader, the project is set to establish a long-term measure on the causes of disasters in Bukedi, Bugisu, and parts of Busoga.
Challenges of that nature. You see people's houses being washed off. You see a lot of problems that people are experiencing. Now, what we are doing and in this project going forward is to make sure that we work with our people to enhance the adaptation to climate change, to these impacts. And one of the avenues that we shall do this is, first of all, to have enough information generated on floods. We have to analyze them and know when they occur and how much of them do we have when they occur. And when they occur, what are the potential areas that are likely to be affected by these floods? That if a flood happens, what are the likely property, infrastructure that's under threat? The households, the people, the roads, the crossings. For instance, here in MBALE, you will see areas where they have put warnings that these are flash flood areas. So, when we understand the behavior of floods, then we have to put in place flood early warning systems to warn our people about all of these. But these are the real-time interventions for managing floods. But we also have to put in place the long-term measures. And these are the things like restoration of the catchment management. That's why after flood early warning, we are going into catchment management. to try to address the causes of these floods. And you know very well the causes are that in the hill-lying areas there is massive degradation of the landscape. People have cut down all the trees. That when it rains, there is limited water that will go into the ground. There is no infiltration. So we are saying, what can we do in those hill areas? Can we plant trees to promote infiltration of water into the ground? And can we also put up soil and water conservation measures? That when it rains heavily, some water is harvested in the soil, and this is the same water which comes out slowly in the dry season to ensure rivers continue flowing, but also our groundwater, to be available. But what's also very important is that people harvest their fertile soils and they continue to do agricultural production. But on the other end, when you control water and soil in the hill-lying areas, you've planted trees, then you control floods. The water will not move down so quickly. For instance, in this low-lying area of Mbale, it will move slowly, and the flood will build slowly. And in that way, you are harvesting water in the catchment, you keep it in the catchment, and you don't give it so much chance to escape from the catchment and cause problems, kill people, destroy roads and houses in the form of floods. So that's what we are doing. But like you said earlier, these industrial parks and other people who develop these permanent infrastructure in flood-prone areas, we work with them, by the way. We bring them on board. And thanks to climate change is speaking for itself. When we see these floods happening everywhere, even when we don't warn you, you will clearly see that you've put this in the wrong place. But we don't end there. We continue engaging these people, sensitize them, and also we have colleagues, we have different entities of the ministry who are supposed to enforce some of the safeguards that they are supposed to enforce to ensure that people who are not so aware of the dangers of being in a flood-prone area are brought to book, are made aware, and advised to get out of the way of water. Immediate interventions as we roll out the curfew project will be, first of all, to carry out a baseline, to have a better understanding of the geographical area where the project will be working. First of all, to understand the stakeholders who are there, to understand, for instance, the indigenous knowledge, the local knowledge Honorable Musira was talking about during the launch of the project, and have a full understanding of all these partners that we have to work with in this project, but also to understand the hotspot areas. If you're going to restore river banks, what are the most degraded river banks? If you're going to restore wetlands, what are the most degraded wetlands? And if we are talking about tree planting, where do we need to do tree planting? What are the most degraded areas? So we shall do that in the baseline study, and that will be stakeholder driven, working with all these stakeholders to ensure that we have a full understanding of the project that will guide the later stages of procurement, of inputs, service providers, experts, consultants, that we shall work with to implement the concrete actions of this project. The concrete actions being, of course, putting in place infrastructure for flood early warning, putting in place concrete catchment management actions, riverbank restoration, wetland restoration, tree planting, soil and water conservation measures, but also being mindful of the wash technologies, putting in place those, and to make sure that they make sense in the areas where they will be implemented. Like in Butareja, they have a challenge of wash technologies because of the nature of their area. It is so low, it's a flood-prone area, the water table is so high. So how do we work with people in such a community to find out solutions around wash technologies that are sustainable, that are environmentally friendly, that do not cause problems of water quality along the way.
Thank you. I'm called Dr. Kalisti Ndimugaya. I'm the Director for Directorate of Water Resources Management in the Ministry of Water and Environment. The Ministry of Water and Environment is the government institution responsible for all issues of water, environment and climate change. And look at these issues on behalf of Ugandans. We want Ugandans to have access to safe water for drinking, for productive purposes, but we want this water to be available in the right quantity and quality now and in the future, but also protect the environment, because the environment is the one which maintains water, so water and environment are related. And right now the country, like many other countries in the world, are facing the challenge of climate change. So we also coordinate government action on climate change so that people can see how to live with climate change, but also ensure that we take action that will enable us to prevent those impacts of climate change from affecting our livelihoods. So we have had, for example, in Mpologoma catchment here, a number of interventions, a number of activities going on. We have some investments by the private sector, and many times some of those may not actually be environmentally friendly. Some of them have destroyed wetlands, some of them have destroyed riverbanks, forests. But normally when these projects are approved, some of them of course may be implemented without approval. Those which are approved, they have to submit an environmental impact assessment report. And when they submit an environmental impact assessment report to the National Environment Management Authority, it goes through an evaluation and assessment, and for us at the mainstream ministry, we're also part of that process. And then at approval, there are conditions which are set for the investor to follow. But some of these investors sometimes have not been following the conditions. For example, if you are putting an investment, say, across the wetland, you are guided on how to ensure that the investment is environmentally friendly, that you don't destroy or affect the wetland. But some of them have not been following the provisions, and annually, National Environment Management Authority conducts audits. Once an audit finds that you have not done it in an environmentally sustainable manner, your investment will be stopped. But also you will be compelled to put in place measures to address those challenges. So again, government, through His Excellency the President, has actually directed that we shouldn't have any approval of a project like an industrial factory in a wetland. So what was being done was the past, but now moving forward, since now almost 2 years ago, we are not approving a project in a wetland. And we are saying that those which have not started, they shouldn't start. Again, the President addressed the media a few days ago, and it was very, very clear for the importance of environment protection, but he dwelt a lot on wetlands and why we need to protect them. So whatever happened in the past, we regret it, but we are trying to make sure that even when those industries are there, whatever they are doing doesn't cause any more harm. And we feel that we'll be able to address the issues. Some of the areas we are getting them to even restore areas, maybe even some areas we can even create an artificial wetland. But some of those areas where they have discharging wastewater, we actually get them to treat wastewater before they discharge. But what does that mean within the overall framework of the catchment? The catchment basically is an area that contributes water to a common point. Mpologoma flows into Lake Choga, but all the water starts in Mount Elgon. And when the water is moving, if Mount Elgon is bare, the hills are bare, there's no tree cover, there's no grass, the water will come with a very, very high speed, wash away the soil, and that's why you hear the landslides. So we have to take actions to actually stop the landslides. And what can we do? Promote tree planting, promote creation of soil bands, create water harvesting structures and flood control structures, and check dams, so that when it rains, the water is stopped from moving very fast. It moves very slowly, because once soil is full of water, it will move at a very, very high speed, and then it will wash away people's investments, houses, roads, schools, health centers, and many others. So that's what the project we have launched today is going to do. Look at where is the water coming from, where does it pass, and where does it end. And in each of those locations, we take actions that are appropriate. Mount Elgon, what we do in Mount Elgon is different from what we do in the low-lying areas, for example, in Tororo and Butareja. There, the challenge is wetland degradation, encroachment of the river banks. So under the river banks, for example, under this project, we'll be getting people to restore the boundaries of the river banks. Some river banks will have 50 meters protected, others 30 meters depending on the size. And we'll plant pillars so that people know where the river bank protection zone ends. We even plant trees so that people know where it ends. Normally we use bamboo. And then we support people to use that area which is protected for income generating activities. We'll be supporting them, for example, to put in some beehives. Some can even put in fruit trees. For example, we put there a mango tree, the avocado tree and all of that. They protect the environment, but they give you incomes. But around the wetlands, we'll be supporting people to set up fish ponds so that they can get incomes, but also some of them will harvest water from a wetland, set up small-scale irrigation. Some areas, they will do small things. Some of them could even cut materials, and then they use it for maybe thatching their houses or mulching, wherever it is needed. And then further downstream, as the water enters into Lake Choga, there might be some areas where there's a lot of silt, and we support people from the silting. We also have a component of provision of water. So we'll be providing people water for drinking, because some of them have been going to the river saying they are looking for water. So we want to bring water closer to them. Also support them with sanitation facilities, especially in those areas where the water is shallow. So this project called Kafue, funded by Adaptation Fund and implemented by Ministry of Water and Environment and Water Aid Uganda, is going to be a 5-year project and has been launched today by the Minister of Water and Environment. It's basically going to bring the stakeholders, the people together, to know that there is a lot we can do ourselves. That even when you have a private company coming to destroy environment, you can exert pressure and make sure that whatever they do is environmentally friendly. And that's why we have a committee called the Catchment Management Committee. Current chair is Honorable John Musira, a former chairperson for Manafa, but now currently a member of Parliament. And this will be the committee that will be ensuring that the voices of the people are well captured and whatever is done is benefiting the people. The Mpologoma itself covers 18 districts. Now, and the area is about 50,000 square kilometers. So we are talking about 1/5 of Uganda. Uganda's area is about 250,000. So we are talking about 1/5 of Uganda, covering 18 districts. But this project will only work in 11 districts. But we have also other projects that are working in other areas. So by this project is going to be working in 11 districts to make sure that we can create impact.
5, 3, 2, cards to the success of Kafue project. Oh. Then the rest of us, let's go down here. Quickly. Okay. That is it. Thank you very much.